إن الحمد لله نحمده سبحانه ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله تعالى فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد فأوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله عز وجل، فقد أمرنا الله تعالى بذلك في كتابه الكريم، فقال تعالى: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. وقال تعالى: يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. ثم أما بعد، if somebody was to sit outside in the desert, somewhere far, and a snake comes and bites that person, have you ever heard of somebody dying from a snake bite? And the answer is no, people don't die from snake bites. The snake does something different. There's something added to the bite, and that addition is what people die from. And that is the poison that runs through the blood, that runs through the veins of the person who was bitten. And so, dear brothers and sisters, what happens in our lives is that incidents happen. And the incident isn't going to kill you itself. It's not going to kill you. But what kills you is the pain and the poison that you allow to fill inside your blood, inside your veins. Poison that might continue for years. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, سارعوا إلى مغفرة من ربكم وجنة عرضها السماوات والأرض أعدت للمتقين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, سارعوا إلى مغفرة من ربكم. Race to the forgiveness of your Lord. وجنة, and race to paradise. عرضها السماوات والأرض. Its expanse is the heavens and the earth. أعدت للمتقين. It's prepared for the muttaqeen. And then now you want to ask, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that it's prepared for the muttaqeen, you want to ask yourself, what does that mean? And what does it mean to be a muttaqi? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, الذين ينفقون في السراء والضراء. Allah then explains what the muttaqeen, what they do, what makes you from the muttaqeen. And so the first characteristic Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks of the muttaqeen is their spending of their wealth. الذين ينفقون في السراء والضراء. They spend in the good times and the hard times. They're spending for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you see the relationship between a person and their wealth. It's mentioned in the Quran. But the next part is actually the topic of this khutbah, and how a person gets to Jannah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, الذين ينفقون في السراء والضراء والكاظمين الغيظ والعافين عن الناس والله يحب المحسنين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the muttaqeen, those whom paradise is prepared for, they suppress their annoyance and their anger at other people. Al-Kadhimin al-Ghayb. And Allah subhanahu, who else goes to paradise? وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ. The people who go around and forgive other people. Subhanallah. What an amazing characteristic. You forgive somebody when they've done what? When they've done something wrong to you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Jannah is for those who go around and they forgive people. Now ask yourself, in your day, somebody cuts you off on the road, somebody does this to you, and on your way here probably many things may have made you angry. Did you forgive those people? Was it your habit to be, Allah yaghfir lahu? I want to be one of those who forgive so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives. Because that's the characteristic Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says of the people who go to Jannah. And if you look in the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you will see this was his characteristic. he forgave people, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So let's look. The topic of this lecture, inshallah ta'ala, is controlling our anger. Controlling our anger, just like the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam commanded us to do. A man came to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and he asked him a question. Imagine, somebody comes along, and this is something interesting. Sometimes you have a sheikh come to you, and some people ask fatwa questions. Right? Is it permissible to do this? Where's the halal? What's haram? But I noticed traveling in England that the people there ask a little different question. They ask, can you give us some advice? We're students in university, can you give us some advice? I'm a mother with children, can you give us some advice how to raise the children? And I really like those questions, because you can really benefit lots of good things when you meet somebody of knowledge and ask them questions of advice. So you'll see very often companions of the Prophet ﷺ would come to the Prophet ﷺ not with a fatwa question, but with a question of awsini, give me some advice. And they would leave it general. Awsini, Ya Rasulullah, awsini. And so the Prophet ﷺ, a man came to him and he said, La taghdab. He said, don't get angry. Now here's the interesting thing about this hadith. I know you know this hadith. You know it. But there's a difference between knowing the hadith and implementing it. The Prophet ﷺ point blank told him, don't get angry. Did he say in some circumstances you can, and if somebody cuts you off, or if you're at home with your wife or your husband, then you can get angry? No, he made it general. La taghdab, don't get angry. So the man then said, give me some more. What was the second advice the Prophet ﷺ gave him? Number 2, la taghdab, don't get angry. And then the man said, Ya Rasulullah, give me some more advice. Number 3 advice is, La taghdab, don't get angry. This hadith is very similar in the style of the hadith that speaks about the man who came and asked, who has most the right of being my, having friendship with me, of being my friend. And the Prophet ﷺ said, Ummuk, right? You know your mothers tell you this hadith all the time. Ummuk, thumma ummuk, thumma ummuk, right? That hadith, you see how much emphasis we have on that hadith in our community? Now this is the same style. The Prophet ﷺ said, La taghdab, la taghdab, la taghdab. He kept asking him, the Prophet ﷺ kept telling him, don't get angry. And the reason I want to bring this up is because this is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and now where are we from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ? La taghdab, don't get angry. So the Prophet ﷺ was once sitting with his companions, and he said to them, مَا تَعُدُّونَ الْقَوِيُّ فِيكُمْ? Who do you consider to be the strong person amongst you? And they said, like when you're thinking strength, even right now, when you think strong, what are you thinking of? And in our culture, when we think strong, we're thinking of muscles, physical muscles. And specifically the bicep muscle, just this one. Right? It doesn't matter if your leg muscles are strong, if your back muscles are, just your bicep muscles. This is how superficial we consider strength to be. If the muscles are strong, then the person is a strong person. At least the companions, radiallahu anhum, they knew that there's more to strength than this. They said, Ya Rasulullah, the person who nobody can beat him in a wrestling match. A real wrestling match. This is the person we consider as the strong one. And the Prophet ﷺ said, no, that's not the strong person. The strong person is الَّذِي يَمْلِكُ نَفْسَهُ عِنْدَ الْغَضَبِ. The person who is in control of himself. In other words, emotional strength. The person who is in control of himself at the moment in the situation when he should get angry. This is the angry moment. He controls himself and doesn't get angry. That's the strong person. Have you seen people like that? Sometimes in different gatherings, somebody gets very angry and he starts shouting. When that person starts shouting, which amongst us considers that person to be strong? When we see somebody they lose their control and they start shouting, and we're like, mashallah, such a strong person. Do we say that? No, you know that person is the weakest person. It's the person who has no control, no strength at all. That's why they're getting angry. And the Prophet ﷺ said, La taghdab. In another situation, the Prophet ﷺ, because see what happens with anger is that it leads to so many haram things after that. It leads to a person being confused in their deen. You know, sometimes, and it might be situations here, you might get into an argument and get angry at someone from another culture. I'm sure you've seen this happen. The person after the anger then condemns the entire culture and the entire people. Correct? So they'll get in a fight with this person and they'll say, all these people are like that. They do dhulm. This person does dhulm to the entire nation. And they close their mind. They're now filtering people based on this. In a relationship, husband and wife, the anger could lead to divorce. Correct? It keeps going. How many times in the shiur hear of people saying, I got angry at my wife, and he said that his wife was divorced. Or it could lead to domestic abuse, where the husband is abusing his family and beating the family because of this anger. And what happens with the children? They may not be learning and being educated properly. They want to learn about their deen. They're doing something bad. And when they're just beaten out of anger, they might not understand what the situation is. They might be misguided like that. So many bad things come from it. So the Prophet, one of the bad things that comes from it is cursing. And cursing there are swear words, but cursing in the sense where a person calls upon the wrath and the la'na of Allah on something, which they shouldn't, and this is done in dhulm. So a man once was traveling with the Prophet ﷺ. They were traveling in a caravan, and this man's camel just sat down. It wouldn't move. The man got angry, and it's basically like if you have a car and the car just won't start. What do you say? Do you say something, do you say something good, or do you say something bad, or you just stay quiet? This man got angry at his camel not moving, and he said to the camel, Sir la'anatillah. He said, move, basically, damn you. He's saying, damn, actually, that word damn in English means may you be condemned to hellfire. But in this situation, he said, may you be cursed, may you be taken from the mercy of Allah, giving you kind of like translations of what that word means. He said this to his camel. The Prophet ﷺ said, get off your camel and don't ride your camel in our group. We're traveling together. Because this man called upon the wrath of Allah. And the Prophet ﷺ said, don't travel with us. Because now we're traveling together, you've called upon the wrath of Allah. Allah's wrath may come down upon us. Because that's how you're speaking. And then the Prophet ﷺ started advising him and advising everyone, لا تدعوا على أنفسكم. Don't curse and make dua against yourself. So to give you this example, in a relationship, husband and wife, let's suppose a woman gets in a fight with her husband, and then in her anger, she says, and it's absolutely haram to say something like this, but she'll say something like this, I wish I was divorced. Or I wish I would die. Or in her anger, that is forbidden. And a woman cannot say that, oh, this is the nature of the woman. Doesn't matter. It's haram. And it's of the highest level of haram, that a person lets their tongue, and it comes from a weakness of iman. And consistently going in that direction of anger, that a person goes to this, they go so far that they call upon the la'na and the curse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon themselves. The Prophet ﷺ said, لا تدعوا على أنفسكم. Don't make dua against yourself. ولا تدعوا على أولادكم. And don't make dua against your children and your family members. Now, who would make dua against their children? Does it make sense? Yes, when the child does something in anger, the mother or father, sometimes they will curse their children. So a mother, for example, her boy wants to, can I have the keys to the car? Can I borrow the car? I want to go out, please give me the car. And then the mother says, take the keys, may you never come back. Or even they might say in Arabic, like, yakhrib baytak, right? As they say in Arabic. May your home be destroyed. It's language that is impermissible. A person doesn't speak like this. And they don't get in the habit of doing that and saying bad things. Even, subhanAllah, saying to your child something like, and I'm originally from Egypt actually, but I know a little Urdu. And in Urdu they say ganda bacha, right? Ganda bacha means bad boy. So sometimes in just snap anger or just saying something, a parent might say to the child, "Ganda bacha. You're a bad child." And I would say even that leads to even worse, bad things. You don't want to say to your child and identify your child as being a bad person. Instead, you want to bring them, "Ya salih, oh righteous person." This isn't what righteous people do. "Ya mu'min, ya muttaqi, oh mu'min, don't, this isn't what," because you want to remind the child, and actually I'll give you just an example of this. A father once wanted to wake his son up for Fajr, and he said to his son, "Qum ya munafiq, get up you hypocrite." Now if the child wakes up, then he's confirming that he's a hypocrite. If he stays sleeping, he's confirming that he's a hypocrite. Either way, there's no solution for the child except to be labeled by this, and after a while, the child might start adopting the characteristic of the language that's being used against him. Okay? So no cursing the child and using language like that. وَلَا تَدْعُوا عَلَىٰ أَمْوَالِكُمْ, and don't make dua against your property, against your wealth. And that means that if your car is not working, if your house, something broke at your house, you don't curse the house. You don't curse the car. This is the adab and the khuluq of the Muslim. Even their car, even their riding animal, they also have good adab with their car and the riding animal. They don't make dua. Because the Prophet ﷺ, now here is the warning that it may be that a person, the Prophet ﷺ said, it may be that the person makes these dua at a time when Allah answers all the dua and their dua is accepted. And they would never wish for their dua to be accepted. So an example that I gave you of the boy who says to his mother, "Let me borrow the keys," actual real incident that one of the shuyukh was mentioning, that this boy left the home late at night and died in a car accident. His mother said to him, her last words to her son were, "Go, may you never come back." And that's what happened. He never came back. And her whole life now, her last words to her child were a curse. How many people got divorced because of situations like that, or all the pain that is built up from all of this anger, and it all goes back to remembering the dua of the statement of the Prophet ﷺ, "La taghdab," don't get angry. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. There are times when a person can become angry, and it is allowed and it may be justified. But it's interesting situations when the Prophet ﷺ got angry, and look at what the situation was. There were situations of immense importance, where the hudud of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the laws of Allah are being transgressed upon, and then you'll see the Prophet ﷺ become angry. In one situation, a woman stole. She stole something, and they came to the Prophet ﷺ, and they wanted her to be pardoned because she was from a noble family. The Prophet ﷺ got very angry. And he said, "Waymullah, law anna Fatimata bint Muhammadin saraqat laqata'tu yadaha." He said, even if my own daughter, Fatima, the daughter of Muhammad, stole, I would have cut her hand off. Now this is the Prophet ﷺ. His anger is in these situations, and I want to show you that when he would get angry, ﷺ, it's funneled and it's channeled to change. He actually works to change the situation, not just get angry and say, "Oh, this is somebody else's problem." Another example that you're familiar with is if he saw pictures in his home. And try to ask yourself, do you have pictures in your house? Paintings up on the wall. He would see these paintings, and there was a picture on the wall. Prophet ﷺ, his face would change. And he would say that the people that are most punished on the Day of Judgment are the people who make these type of pictures. And so Aisha radiallahu anha takes it down, cuts it up, and uses the cloth for something else. And so on. When you see the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, most people who get angry, it has nothing to do with Islam. It's just common things that happen in their lives. So when they bring up these situations, no, it has something to do with Islam. And it doesn't mean that the da'i is an angry person. That's not what it is. There are specific situations for the Prophet ﷺ, but nobody smiled more than the Prophet ﷺ is smiling. Everyone he would meet, the Prophet ﷺ was smiling. That was his sunnah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So many times there were situations when everybody else was angry, like the man who urinated in the masjid. Prophet ﷺ would smile at him and guide him. The man who spoke during his salah, he said, "La ra'aytu mu'alliman khayran min an-nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam." He said, "I've never seen an educator, a teacher better than the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam." So it's not that he's giving da'wah with anger. He might, a person might feel some anger that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's commands are being transgressed, yet they follow the sunnah of the Prophet. Ultimately, you want this person to be guided in front of you. And you do that by smiling and bringing the person closer rather than pushing them away, further away with anger. Okay, now, how about some solutions to this problem? Solutions based in the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Number one solution, and I actually use this solution a lot for myself in my own life. A man came to the Prophet ﷺ. Here's another example of when the Prophet ﷺ should be getting angry. The man grabbed the Prophet ﷺ by his collar, shook him, and he said, "A'tini min mali la min mali ummika wa la min mali abika." He made this statement, incredibly aggressive, and this person should be punished for saying something like that. The companions wanted to kill this man. He said, "Give me from Allah's wealth, not the wealth of your mother, not the wealth of your father." And he's accusing the Prophet ﷺ also in the beginning of the statement of the man. He said, "I'dil." He said, "Be just, O Muhammad." He's assuming that the Prophet ﷺ is being unjust. That's how intense this statement was. And they wanted to kill this man, and the Prophet ﷺ said no. And then here's the point, he said, "رحم الله أخي موسى لقد أوذي بأكثر من ذلك فصبر." May the mercy of Allah be upon my brother Musa. He was tested with more than this, and he was patient. Now, here is the solution. When you get angry, look at what is it that's making you angry. You went to a restaurant, they didn't give you ketchup. Okay, they didn't give you ketchup and you're angry now. Subhanallah. Somebody had their child die, probably in the same day, and you're complaining that you don't have ketchup. And I think to myself, if I'm not thankful during these times, maybe Allah will give me those other tests so that I can learn something. And I've done Hajj many years, and this is one thing that I've learned in Hajj, that the people who are not patient have the biggest problems during Hajj. Everybody has a hotel room except the angry person. His hotel room has been taken by somebody else. Everybody has their luggage arrive except the angry person. His luggage is lost. Everybody has a place on the bus except the angry person. There's no place for him on the bus. It's like a punishment for the person. Because the person is not thankful to Allah Azza wa Jal, then here we'll show you. If you're not going to be thankful, then you're going to have to learn in a different way. And this is also, interestingly, from the rahmah of Allah to bring this person closer to Allah Azza wa Jal. So secondly, another way, the Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا غَضِبَ أَحَدُكُمْ فَلْيَسْكُتْ. If any of you gets angry, they should keep quiet. In another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said that if a person gets angry, they should say, أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. So in conclusion, I want to give you something that is very practical, and that is how to maintain and control your anger on the internet. The internet has caused a lot of people to get angry. Maybe if you see a person face to face, you have shame, you're not going to say bad things to the person or whatnot, but behind the computer screen, people start to become very foul in their language and the anger that they send back in emails and posting on forums and so on and so forth. So you will receive, and I'm sure you've already received emails like this that make your head shake and your body angry and you just want to reply right away. So here is the technique. Number one, implementing the hadith, إِذَا غَضِبَ أَحَدُكُمْ فَلْيَسْكُتْ. If any of you get angry, they should keep quiet. That means don't write any emails in such a state. This is what I do. If I ever receive an email like that's made me very angry, and I want to respond in 2 seconds just to punch this person out via email, I write the email. I do write it, but I write it in a Word document so that I don't accidentally send it to the person. I write it in the Word document, I write and I write and I write, this is what I want to say and this is what I want to say. And I use any language that I want, I just write it. And I have a 24-hour policy. I say I will never send an email until 24 hours have passed, and then I will look back at the email to see if I want to send it or not. And this, I can't tell you how many times has saved me. There was one person who said this to me. He said something very bad to me via email, and he put in the CC, he CC'd every leader in the community. Every leader in the community, he said, Muhammad is a disgrace. Muhammad Alshareef is a disgrace to our community. And he CC'd all the leaders. But the man at the end of this email, he said something. He said, Muhammad, I hope you don't take any offense to this. I'm like, what are you talking about? No offense. He said, I hope you don't take any offense to this, because Umar radiallahu anhu used to love to be corrected. Now, so obviously my head started shaking, my body started going like this. I wrote and I wrote and I wrote, but I promised to not send it for 24 hours. 24 hours passed, I calmed down. I even forgot about it. It was like, the weekend, he sent it like on a Friday night. It was like Monday, and I had forgotten about it. And then came the time to respond, and it was over. The anger had passed. I hadn't said anything. I wrote it up, but I didn't send anything. But I remembered the last part of his email. He said, Umar loves to be corrected. And at that time, I was studying the life of Umar, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and I said, you know what? You're right. You're right. He did love to be corrected. And I said, what an amazing honor for me to be compared to Umar radiallahu anhu. I said, this is our legacy of our khulafa. I'm going to copy their legacy. I'm going to be like Umar radiallahu anhu today. I sent the email back, didn't even have to think twice. I said, Jazakallah khairan for reminding me. It takes a lot of courage to say what you did. Alhamdulillah khair. Inshallah, next time you ask me something, inshallah, I'll try my best and I won't do anything. And I said, should I CC all the leaders in the community? I said, no, maybe that's showing off. That I'm responding. I only sent the email to him. He responded back immediately as well, and he said that every leader in the community that he had CC'd had responded to him without putting my name in it. Without putting my email address. They had all told him what you said was wrong. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had angels protecting me. I didn't need to be angry, and it ended in such a beautiful way. And it all goes back to what I said in the beginning, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, La taghdab. Don't get angry. My name is Muhammad Alshareef. I'm coming to you from Canada. It's a program here, inshallah ta'ala, in Kuwait. And hopefully, inshallah ta'ala, next week, on Wednesday, I'm going to be doing a lecture, public lecture, inshallah ta'ala. So there will be details after. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد اللهم اغفر لحينا وميتنا وشاهدنا وغائبنا وصغيرنا وكبيرنا وذكرنا وأنثانا اللهم من أحييته منا فأحيي على الإسلام ومن توفيته منا فتوفه على الإيمان ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون فاذكروا الله العظيم يذكركم واشكروه على نعمه يزدكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم